Hey, what's going on, y'all? Back with another one. Back with another one. Yeah, this is we're gonna talk about Mesoamerica. We talked about the Olmecs last week. We talked about how they cultivate, but appreciate people supporting the content as always. But you know how it is. I still got haters everywhere. It is what it is. Pre-recording is kind of tough, but but that's YouTube. That's part of the game, and people gonna listen who they're gonna listen to. That's fine in the history of the Olmec civilization. I talked about a little bit of it. It wasn't really that much longer, or whatever. And people say, "Oh, yeah, you'll get no more views." It don't matter. I got views where it count. But people over time they don't mess with me like that no more. But the haters still exist. But that's part of the game. That's part of live streaming is standard. I understand. Yeah, I got people subscribed and all that. Appreciate the subscriptions and things like that. I appreciate that. But it gets like that, but you get haters all the time when you pre-record. When I pre-record more, it becomes standard. So I really appreciate it. But the live streaming, we'll do. I'm gonna have to edit that. I hit that by mistake. Save that. Yeah, I have to deal with that. Let's see something real quick. I'll have to look at something real quick. Okay, made some changes. I'll get it set up. Okay, so we're going to talk about a little bit of things like in here. Okay, let me talk about this right here. Shouts to realhistory.com, realhistorywww.com for this information. Mesoamerica, yes, the Olmec decline. Okay, it says the circumstances decline, whether by military defeat, cultural exhaustion, or environmental catastrophe is unknown. But however, the evidence does suggest a violent end. What is known is that the Olmec cultural traits, the technology were embraced and carried forward to the Amerindian or American Indian. That's what the person is saying. Peoples in Mesoamerica and South America, those most prominent Olmec technologies carried forward was the building construction, especially the pyramid building and all the later major American Indian cultures. So, south of the United States, engage is in pyramid building, pottery, and metallurgy. Yeah, metallurgy, where also important Olmec culture contributes to Americas. So, as you could tell, I'm gonna big up the screen as I read. You saw my face or whatever. It's pretty much the. It is what it is. So, but you see the pottery, you see the technology, and all this other stuff. The indigenous people of there in Mexico in 1500 BCE. That's back then. You see the technology and all that. Of course, 1300 BCE, and the statues and all that, the busts, the idols, and all that. And Panama is like, right there. Dependent from El Cano, Panama, recovered from the tombs of as of yet unnamed civilization temp called the Golden King 700 CE or say AD, right? And then that's Panama Golden 500 CE, or they will say AD on here, but you know. Okay, El Canano Panama, the personal treasures of the sheaf, of including the seahorse pendant, ear ornaments, part of the breastplate and neck places, the plaques, all were buried in the bag study with the surrounding seeds, which scattered as the fibers decay. That's it. You know, this is a little civilization they have in Panama, by the way. C2 Conte, Panama. This is the gold pendant bears an emerald like it from Colombia. Yeah, interesting stuff. And is I'll say Camina la you Guatemala, or should I say I'll say Guatemala. I'll say Guatemala. I ain't gonna try to pronounce that. I'll say Cam Guatemala. I'm gonna say it like that. That's a mouthful. It's the site early Maya civilization, primarily occupied 1500 BCE to 1200 AD, they will say, or C, has been described as one of the greatest of all archaeology sites in the New World, but known as parts of the known as parts of lie on the on the broad plain beneath the roughly in the western third of the most Guatemala City. But first significance in settlement that dates to the Operativo phase 1100 to 1000 BCE, but with the indications of dense populations and dense populations, but no later than 700 BCE. By the end of the Las Caracas culture, 1700 BCE. So the 1000 to 700 BCE was developing religious, civic institutions scattered. The Las Caracas remains the oldest valley of the Guatemala mark as major occupation of the area at the sites such as the Naranjal El Naranjal at this later site was the El Porton. I mean El Porton. Yeah, at the El Porton, the 50 kilometers to the north of the Takakali Abja, 130 kilometers, 130 kilometers to the west, and the lower into the lower to the Piedmont Plain, uncaved upward shaft and stones called stelas, and the mark of the first appearance of the cult and the time of the reckoning has became one of the basis institutions of the Maya's kingship. But the agricultural of the middle pre-classic culture consists of the hardened adobe bricks that served later as a foundation for the raise of the platforms of the pyramid temples. So yeah, you know, and then you got this Guatemalan bust right here. You got the statue that's from 1000 BCE. 1000 BCE. Once again, you see that Mayans or whatever, and you see the cultures and all that, indigenous cultures like that. And the vaccinations indicated, you know, we ain't gonna read all that. I did this before in Guatemala, all that. And then the Caribbean. That's the Caribbean, the monthly record anthropology science, original articles. It talks about that, about the Caribbean. The Isapane, neither the Olmec civilization or nor the Olmec people died off suddenly. There was a gradual process of ascending ascending at the descending through the fundamentally Olmec. The Asapane civilization is a clear example of the midpoint between the Olmec and the classic Maya. Next great civilization in time of the cultural content for the following early Maya traits are found there. But the still altar complex long flipped to the deities of the hieroglyphic writing and the long counted dates on some of the monuments U-shaped motifs. Yeah, motifs and painted reliefs. Right. That's what you say. I talked about them before. This is the people that I talked about before in this culture. It'll be in the South American culture. We're going to talk about that next week. We're going to get in delve in that. So the Maya culture. The Maya was the first Amerindian people to gain monogamy. Yeah, Hanagami in Mesoamerica, Mexico, Central America. From as early as 1500 BCE, the Mayan people had settled in villages were practicing agriculture based on the civilization of maize, corn known as maize, beans and squash, but also known as the build ceremonial centers, but by 200 CE or AD, they will say. But these that have developed in the cities containing temples and pyramids and places and prizes for playing ball. But there was also a system of a hieroglyphic writing and highly sophisticated calendar astronomical systems. At the point, it is not known how much of this uniquely Mayan, how much was taken directly from the Olmec. Mayan hieroglyphs often depict the histories of the Mayan rulers who waged war on rival Mayan cities and took their aristocratic captives. These captives were then tortured, mutilated, and sacrificed to the Mayan gods. That's what they did, and that's what they did. They conquested. They just as bad as anybody else. Torture and human sacrifice was fundamentally religious rituals in Mayan society. They were thought to be a guarantee for fertility, demonstrates the pity and the propitate to the gods. But it's also practice were neglected in a comic disorder. And they said disorder, right? Disorder and chaos were thought that to the result of the drawing of the human blood that was thought to nourish the gods and was necessary to achieve contact with them. But hence the Mayan rulers at this intermediate between the Mayan people and the gods had to undergo a ritual bloodletting and self-torturing, which is crazy. That's how it was, human sacrifice. That's how they started. And then they had these pyramids like, you see right here, 500 580 to 800 580 to 800 CE, or known as AD, but we say CE because we're on this time scope together. And yes, the tomb with the more murals and all that, the Maya fresco mural bomb pack, yeah, all this stuff. They did all this stuff in conquest. We just skimming through all this stuff like they did. Going to Egypt, ain't it? The oldest Maya ritual, 100 BCE. So, it's a little history. And then you see the Oxygland. Yeah. Above this panel of the oldest Maya mural discovered in 2001 by the ancient Mayan cities of the Bartulio, and then the lowlands of the northwest of Guatemala. But the mural tells this the story of the creation of the mythology of kingship and the divine right of the king. First part of the mural above, the establishments of the order in the world, but the world is propped up by the trees with the roots, landing the underworld and branches holding up to the sky four deities who represented of the maize and God's son provide blood sacrifice and unique offering before each tree. But the story starts with the deity above and the patron of the kings and standing in water. He's running a large spear through his own, phallus, I would say, and letting blood and all this stuff. So yeah, they did all the weird stuff. So, crowning the king and all this other stuff. I told you they were weird. It's a lot of graphical stuff. And then, I'm not gonna get into details and all that. We're just looking at the pictures. That's what you see and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's basically what they is, and then you see the stuff, and then the Zach. But we ain't gonna get into it. The Mistec, I talked about them recent, and see how much time we got. Let's see how much time we got. Time constraints. Okay, we got good time constraints. Okay, the Mixtec, yeah, it came to the Mixtec pre-flourish 1200 CE to 1521 CE as well. It's AD what it says. Shouts to this guy, but it's actually CE. We're in the current time zone we're at. They were the they were con they were contempt promotionists. Is it contempt? I'll say they contemptuous. I'll say contemptuous. Okay, it's a mouthful on the other word. I'm gonna say contempt with the Aztecs, but managed to retain their independence. But their homeland was mountains and regions of the Oaxaca, yeah, Oaxaca, southern Mexico, but known as the Mixtecs. But they were also dominant area of the Oaxacs previous under the rule of the Zapotec civilization. But notably, the city of Amanta Albain. The Mixtecs were renowned for their skill to work with gold and turquoise mosaic. Many of them were employed in artisans by Aztec kings, and that's what they were. So you see this symbol right here, the gold pendant from the Mixtecs, and then you have the El Talgin and all that stuff. I talk about this stuff. And then Hossex, I've talked about them as well. It's all indigenous culture. So as you can tell, the conquest and then the rulers, conquest of the Americas. We ain't gonna get into that, but y'all know the history of Columbus and all that. But that's a whole nother live stream. But shouts out to this guy right here. As you can tell, um, that's the type of people that you're dealing with. That's the type of people that you understand that this is the type of stuff they did back in the day, and they're no better than we are. And other civilizations ain't perfect. Like I said, all cultures ain't perfect. They did some dark stuff. And this is why they're other nations. Now, you got people claiming we're this and that. No, that's them peoples. They moved on, and the admixture of the peoples got this same spirit mixed with other peoples and other groups. Everybody's not like that. Black man is unique. He's different because he's the only one that has an older history than anybody. He has that old look. But that's a whole nother story. That's like a live stream I can talk about and branch out. If you do the research, you'll understand that we have that knowledge. It's no need to teach. I taught this stuff years ago. This is kind of like you get the fabric of where these people come from. And that's the history right there. So with that, shalom to the people of Israel, until the Gentiles, until next time, and praise Yah. Pray to the east as always. And until next time, I'll see y'all soon. And I'm out.